Hello and welcome to the Hotkeys podcast. This is
Are
a
you
show where we
serious?
talk about everything pop culture and random. Yes, I'm serious.
You're one behind.
Welcome to the Hotkeys podcast. My name is Mick, and joining me is
Landon Browning.
I woke up early today to watch The Last of Us episode 6, so we could talk about it. I'm Will, by the way.
Hey,
hello.
I
Will.
know how we feel for the past 5
Did you
weeks.
do this on purpose?
Today is February 25th, and it's freezing outside.
It is. It's very cold.
Yeah.
Just like my heart.
Why is that?
Like
immediately.
I don't know. Dude.
Dave's not here today. Dave's got a job.
He's a working man.
He's a working man now.
Something you'd never think to see.
Swing shift at the textile factory.
Yes.
He's putting the work in.
He-
He's selling firearms, right?
deserves
Didn't we
it.
talk about
What?
that? He's selling firearms to...
no, he is not selling
He's not
firearms.
selling firearms. He's cotton candy salesman
Yes.
on the base.
Yeah, he does something with guns.
Probably sells candy at a grocery store or something.
The commissary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the commissary on
Yeah,
Facebook.
you know,
My bad.
people
My
know,
bad.
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm sorry.
There's no Walmart either. It's called the BX,
and the
BX.
prices are like really good.
and there's no tax.
Yeah, it's like insane.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Why are the prices so good?
because it's like,
Because America.
yeah, they're like, you go risk your life.
You get candy for lower price.
Yeah.
You gonna go join well? You're like, man, that
Dude,
sounds
sign me
like a
up.
good
Sign
deal.
Well,
me
the kind of
up.
like, I mean, the cool thing is, I think you can like, even if you just serve for like 4 years, I think you can like for life, you get
Yeah.
access to it.
Yeah.
because you're a veteran.
Hey, yo.
You could join well, and you could be an officer since you have a 4-year degree.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Will's like, Will's like Captain Will.
Captain? No,
No,
I don't
probably
know.
not.
It's a good way to go.
you gonna do it, Mick?
Good way
I-
to go.
I
as
think
in-
I'm like-
As in what? Good way to go? Like good career route?
Oh, you can make
Good-
yeah.
oh,
you
yeah.
Could, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If
Absolutely.
you're an officer,
I thought you meant like it's a good way to go, like in case you die. Like I was like,
I mean,
oh,
that
that's
too,
really
you know,
dark.
for-
I
country.
don't, no, I don't want to.
No, it's like a career. Excellent way to go.
Officers make very good money in the military. I
My
believe.
dad was an officer in the Air Force.
What rank was he?
Major?
Major Parker.
Major Parker.
I would assume a retirement with a major rank is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will's thinking that.
Will's like,
I can see
stop.
the gears turning in his head.
Protect and
Click, click,
serve.
click, click, click.
Yeah. Yeah, the key is to go in as an officer, though. Because I don't think you can, like, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you could still have a good 20-year career as not an officer,
yeah.
but it just depends on what job you have.
Yeah.
If it's good or not.
Yep.
But just something to think about, Will.
Yeah. We'll be thinking. Do you not love your country enough to...
I'm staying silent for a reason.
Silence is violence.
You know what? They don't want you.
Oh.
They're probably not actually. I'm like the geekiest nerd.
I think
There's a
you could
lot
be a
of
nerd.
nerds in the military, Will.
You could fly drones. You could be
I
a
know
drone.
that.
especially-
I know that.
Especially if you're in the Air Force. That's the nerdy. That's the
Yeah.
nerdy branch.
I can't fly planes though.
Fly a drone.
Fly drones.
Will drone strike Dobratz.
Yeah. I just like whenever I think of drone strike or anything close to that, I think of what's that game? Spec Ops: The Line. Oh man.
That was white phosphorus, but
It was white pea, but like
I remember doing that like in the game at like, 17 years old or something, 16, like,
yeah.
and then like you're like they give you the intel, they're like, all right, fire the like white phosphorus, and you do it, and then like you like go down to like the place you did it, and you're like, oh, this was just like bad intel, like this was just like
And then you have a guy coming around saying, "No, don't fire! False alarm! Stop the firing!" And then the second one goes,
no, you basically just find like a bunch of like women and children,
and it's white phosphorus.
like, white pea. Oh, that game's messed up.
It is
I never
really
played
messed
it.
up.
It's really
it's like
It's like one of my favorite video games, probably.
it's
For a story, like-
definitely one of the most messed up games I've played.
Yeah.
It's really good though.
I think because after that scene, you go to like into the next village, and like all the villagers are like really mad at you, and they're like yelling and screaming, like throwing rocks at you.
Yeah,
like
they kill one of your friends.
Spoiler.
I think so. I ended up panicking and opened fire on the civilians because I was scared. Like they were like attacking me, man. Like I panicked. I panicked. I felt really bad about it, but I was scared.
You're like the comedian and Watchmen. You're just like, my face. Well, we can talk about The Last of Us if you want to.
Up to what episode, Michael?
What do you think?
5.
Is that the latest?
No, it's 6.
No, let's talk about 6.
Have you seen it?
Have I?
It would be really.
Always answer their question
what?
with a question.
That's a great moment. That's like Ron Swanson's one of the funniest characters ever, I think, in TV.
So you know how Ron Burgundy, the character that Will Ferrell plays in Anchorman, he has a podcast. I think I'm surprised already that they haven't done it for Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing podcast.
That'd be great. I would listen to that.
That would be so funny to listen to. Yeah, no, Will, I have seen episode 6. So
Okay, cool.
It would be kind of weird if you were mad at him for not seeing it, though. Like,
I wasn't like
you
super
were
mad.
you were mad.
mad.
and
You were
it's like,
mad.
you know,
especially because you were like, I watched it this morning.
Okay, all right. It is a little hypocritical. I'll back up. But we made a promise last week.
Did we?
Yeah. I said we'll talk about episode 6 next week.
We've made promises before.
yeah. We'll record every week. Post an episode every week.
Hey, that has nothing to do with us.
Who are you calling out?
No one. No one.
The magical mystery machine
Yeah.
that posts our episode
Yeah,
each week?
it's an AI, right?
Yep.
Is Dave AI?
He could be.
It's artificial.
You forgot the intelligence part.
Did I forget it?
So yeah, we could talk about Last of Us episode 6.
I mean, we could talk about the whole. I mean, we haven't got to talk about any
Let's
of it.
just talk about the latest episode.
Okay, just that. All right.
No, I'm kidding. Oh yeah, we could talk about everything up to this point.
Yeah.
What do you think about it, Will?
I really like it. You're always scared when you see one of your favorite video games get adapted to live action.
Yes,
Uh,
with good reason.
with good reason.
Because I can't think of a single one that's like even like it was all right. I mean, it's all right.
I'm trying to think.
Most of them are like
How was the Tomb Raider? The newest Tomb Raider movie? Was that okay?
it was all right.
Yeah, okay.
It was all right.
I never watched it.
Sonic the
Walton
Hedgehog.
Goggins is in
Isn't
it.
it? Yeah, and Alicia Vikander, right?
Is Sonic the Hedgehog good?
Never saw it.
I haven't seen it. I just couldn't
Couldn't
really
bring yourself to
like
see it. No. But yeah.
Uncharted was terrible.
I actually liked
It
Uncharted.
was awful.
I thought it was a good movie.
It was a pile of poop.
I'm in a Papa John. It's like so good.
I think you like it ironically.
I went and saw it with my little sister, and like we played I played all the games with her, and so like we have like a bond over like Uncharted, and like we both thought it was fun. Like it didn't feel really like Uncharted, but I thought it was fun. It was like I feel like it was just a fun movie. There was some weird stuff. Like Antonio Banderas' character was like felt way out of place.
He would have been awesome as a villain, but spoiler,
He's not really the.
he's not really in it,
Yeah,
and he's not really the villain.
Wait, what?
I mean, have you not seen it?
Who's the villain?
What's her name?
Is it Chloe?
I don't even remember.
You should just watch it. Watch it. It's a good movie.
I don't want to watch it, honestly.
I'm in a Papa John.
I don't care about to watch. Like, I'll never watch
It's
it.
like the most blatant, like it's like some of the grossest advertising in a movie. Like he's like, I'm in a Papa John. It's like what? They have a whole fight scene with Mark Wahlberg in a Papa John's. Like they built a Papa John's that's like actually like right around one of the clues. Like one of the clues is built in like the old infrastructure, and they turn into a Papa John's. Like I'm not kidding. It's hilarious.
I never want to see this movie.
It's terrible.
I thought it was good.
It's bad.
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
It's stupid.
I'm excited for the second one.
No,
There's a second one?
Well, it made a lot of money. It did really well. So they're probably.
I don't know how because it sucks
Because it's Uncharted. It's the like, yeah.
so bad. Anyway, Last of Us
Yeah.
Yes.
is a really good adaptation from a video game.
Not
Yes.
as good.
Finally, shut up. Yeah, it's by far the best video game to live action thing
Ever.
that we've got.
Yes.
And
Yep.
this is one that was like, I mean, all of them you're like really rooting for, but this one especially is like, man, if they mess this up,
I'm going to be really mad.
it's like it's so terrible.
I'm just glad they took their time with it too. Like I remember like rumors of them making it into a movie like
Yeah.
years and years ago. Like, and I'm like, you can't tell that in a 2.5 hour. Like,
You can't, no.
no,
Even like a 3-hour movie, it's just
there's not enough
you
time.
cut so much out.
Yeah.
And you have to make so many sacrifices. With the TV show, it's like the perfect format for
Yep.
basically the same amount of time that we spend in the game.
Yeah, I think it's 10 hours is the total runtime of the series of the first season. 9 hours, and there's like, it might be less. It might be like 9 hours, total hours, just because there's like a 45-minute episode.
When I feel like there's still like the stigma of like, oh, it's a TV show, like, but like nowadays, I feel like the lines have really blurred together.
I feel like TV shows a lot of times have more quality,
especially when it's like an HBO Max or like, you know, Amazon or, you know, those quality of TV shows. It's like, it's really not a TV show at this point. It's just a super movie.
Yeah,
because the quality is like at the point or even better than movies.
Yeah, I mean, especially CW, like it just really flies.
Well,
man, those CW shows.
Also, it's not like they're churning these like the second season of the show is not going to come out a year from now.
Oh, it's going to be in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
maybe 4.
So,
which is what movies do.
Yep. So they're getting to the point where like, I think the next season of the Game of Thrones prequel is like going to be like 1.5 years, 2 years apart from the first season. So like they're spending the time. It's not like they're churning out 20 episodes in 12 months like they do at the CW. So yeah. And they got good people involved. I mean, the cast is amazing. I don't think there's been a whiff so far on any casting.
And I think it's a really good thing too is that they have Neil Druckmann.
Yep.
And just having someone that was highly involved with the video games basically be one of the showrunners is, I think, a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think it shows that the show's really good. So
yeah.
I don't think as far as casting, there's no real, as you would put it, whiffs.
Yeah, Bella Ramsey took me a little bit like to get used to, but I don't know if that's just because I've seen her in like Game of Thrones before and different things where it's like, I don't know, but she's winning me over.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And at like before I saw any like trailers or anything, I was like, I don't know. She doesn't really feel like Ellie to me, but I think it was the first trailer where we actually saw like kind of a dry comedic moment from her. I was like, boom. It's like,
she's funny.
That's Ellie.
She's funny.
Yeah.
She's like,
she really has that Ellie humor down. And then obviously in the show, like for me, it was like immediate. I was like, yep, that's Ellie. And then Pedro Pascal, come on.
Oh man, within his first line.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is Joel. Like,
even in this latest episode, there were times where it was like, that sounds like Troy Baker's Joel. Yeah. Like he does a really good job at like, it still feels like the Joel we know, but obviously he's made it his own. And I think that is good for the show.
Yeah. I think they've done a better job in the show too. Like in the game, like Joel's like in his 50s, I'm pretty sure, right? Like his early 50s, I believe.
I think it's his late 50s.
Is it his late 50s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's 56 in the show.
Okay. So in the game, like he's like this guy in his 50s though, but like I don't feel like it ever really plays with the fact that like he's kind of becoming an old man. Like in the show, it's very apparent that like he's not this like wrecking ball anymore of like, you know what I mean? He's clearly like he's getting beat up. He's like,
yeah, I feel like in
a
game you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Because if you are playing someone that's like falling apart and like, you know, slow, it's like, no, that's not that fun.
Yeah.
But in a show you could really like dive into that and make that a character trait of someone that is that old, that has been like beat up for the last 20 years.
It reminds me of a change in the show to the game. In the game, Joel falls down. The way Joel gets hurt at the university, Joel like falls down a story or two and gets impaled by a pipe. That's like rebar.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody's going to survive that. It doesn't matter if you're 20 years old.
You'd probably just die from the fall alone.
Yes.
Even if there wasn't rebar there.
Yes. So
crack your head, and
they changed that to like a bat being splintered, or he gets stabbed with a splintered bat or something like that, which is like
it's more believable.
Way more believable, and I like actually the change a lot because it kind of grounds it. Like the one thing about The Last of Us is like you feel superhuman with the ability to, which is going to be interesting how they tackle it in part 2, which we can talk about with a spoiler warning. But in part 1, it makes sense to have Joel, since he's old, not be superhuman.
Yeah.
Spoiler warning, or in part 2, Ellie needs to be superhuman in order for the story to work.
Like how so?
I think that Ellie kind of in part 2 becomes like a one-woman army.
Yeah, they'll probably just change. I mean, there's way more gameplay segments too in part 2. You probably just whittle that down. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have her kill hundreds of people like she does probably in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but still, even like she's, I guess, yeah.
I mean, even in the show, they've already, I mean, in the game, you encounter, dozens and dozens and dozens of people you have to kill and like infected. There's barely been any infected in the show outside of the
giant scene at the end of episode 5.
Yeah, which is awesome.
That was
like
awesome.
And episode 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like they're not killing that many of them. I think most of the changes in general they've made with the show I've liked. Like it's made it fit better with the format. Like even the I think it's in episode 2 they have like the flashback to like the doctor in where like the outbreak happens. Is it Indonesia?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that scene, like that was awesome.
Bomb it.
Yeah, she's like I'd like to be with
everything.
my family. Like
Yeah, that's something the game didn't touch on at all. Is like what happened, the transition from normal society to apocalypse, mushroom people everywhere.
and I love how like they basically insinuated like it was from start to finish, basically everything was over in like a week.
Yeah, like it was
Like fast. Like it was like like that Friday or whatever that day was that like Joel, Sarah, and Tommy are together. Like by the end of that weekend or whatever, like basically everybody was, probably the population of the Earth probably went from like what it's supposed to be in 2001 that it happens, right?
Like 5 or 6 billion.
So 5 or 6 billion to probably down to like I don't know how many people are probably left. Like millions, probably in the millions,
50?
right? 50 million. Like
Yeah.
It's basically just insinuated like almost everybody died in that like first week.
It's basically everybody who one didn't eat any type of wheat, bread products.
Yep.
And then 2 didn't get bit. And
Yep. Which I'm like, how much of that like bread with the fungus is still out there? You know what I mean? That like.
Well, I think some of the details in the show, like Joel I still haven't seen Joel like eating any type of bread products or anything. I don't know if other characters have, but I guess Ellie has. Like she's eating a sandwich.
Yeah, that would have had to be bread that was made though, right? Unless the flour was.
I mean, I don't know how it works. If it's still like, ooh, everyone's still paranoid about it, but
I do like how they insinuate in the first episode. She's like, "Oh, we can have pancakes," and they don't have time to eat it. And then
like, "Hey, did you pick up the cake?"
Yeah,
Ooh, I forgot.
Yep, I love all that.
Like they really dodged the bullet there.
Well, that's what it is. It's all just luck, basically. Like,
and then like the cookies next door is like, "Hey, do you want cookies?" Yeah, they have raisins.
Yeah, nah, we're good. Like,
maybe I should eat less bread.
Will scare.
You ever thought like what
eat less bread and join the military? Will
yeah.
we could all probably
Eat less bread.
Yeah,
especially since last night.
Oh my
gosh, dude! We need to stop going to Texas.
We don't go there that often.
No. I'm saying like we don't go ever again. I'm being 100% serious. I always feel like garbage the next day.
Maybe we just need to have more self-control, which is really hard though, because like they just keep bringing the rolls. Like,
and
if they just stopped. You know what I mean? Like,
it was funny because there was like one roll left on our table, and we were like, "Oh yeah, just we're done. Put it over here." And as soon as we consolidated all the baskets, they came over immediately with another basket of rolls.
I don't think we ate a single one of them either. I took like 3.
I think Oliver did.
I ate one at the very end. I was like,
just one more.
Well, my problem is I always get that sangria margarita, which is delicious, but like it's so much that like by the time I'm like, I'm halfway through with that and like 4 rolls deep and like, 20 fried pickles. Like
the fried pickles are the thing that I'm like, yeah, I could eat.
I could just eat those. Like, and it's like, then you're like halfway full when your food comes out and you're like, oh wow, like here's the entree, which is like
giant.
And it's giant. I got my loaded applesauce. I'm not going to like not eat that. Like, I don't care how full I am. I'm going to power through the loaded applesauce at all costs.
Yeah.
Because it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, we don't need to stop going to Roadhouse. Like, I know we waited like an hour and a half for our food, but like it was worth it. It was worth it. The patience.
I don't know. Like, the ribs are good.
My ribs were not great. My ribs were not great.
My ribs were great.
Really dry.
Mine were great. They messed up your ribs, but they did not mess up mine.
Did you guys have the same type of ribs?
Yeah, I mean, we both got the same. Essentially, you just got chicken tenders instead of, I got a steak and ribs.
Yeah, I got chicken tenders and ribs. Chicken critters, actually.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Last of Us.
Bread.
Bread. Stop.
I mean, that's a difference. They basically say where it came from. And then another difference is it's not spores in the air. Like it's...
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I feel like they had to do that.
You can't have your actors wearing gas masks a lot of the time.
Well, also just nobody would
Their
have
reason
survived.
it was like completely like the believability of it. Like they said was like I feel like everybody would be infected at that point, which I get, but at the same time, this is already like a very like
everybody should be infected.
It's a very like theatrical thing already, like because that stuff in the game is like it adds an extra level of tension that you don't really get in the show, which is fine. I mean, it's not like needed, but when they were telling us that there wasn't in it at first, I was like, no, that kind of sucks. Like that's kind of a cool part, and especially in part 2, there are some cool elements with that specifically. That I mean, maybe they'll say like, oh, in these next 4 years, we've found spores, or they probably won't, but
that's one of those brutal scenes in the second game.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a really good, well done scene. It's just going to be difficult to recreate how good and well done it is because the fact that it has to do with there being spores existing.
Yeah. And they've changed stuff from like the first game, like Joel's talking to Tommy about like, I've seen her inhale enough spores to kill like 50 men or whatever. But in the show, it's, oh, she got bit again and she's fine.
Yep.
So they can work around it, and it's still going to be good.
And now it's like a hive mind too. Like
hive mind, that's a new thing, which I think works really well. Yeah, and it makes sense. With the
fungus type
fungi stuff. Anyway,
I've heard too that like technically with like how that fungus like cordyceps works or whatever, like that like technically the people might still like be conscious, like but not have any like
at first, like at some point it does, like when you become a clicker, you're gone because it literally splits open your head.
Yeah.
So at some point, yes, but like at first, I think it is still like the fungus bypasses the brain.
Yeah.
And you're still in there technically.
Yeah.
Which is really terrifying to think about.
It's horrible.
Because in episode 5, when you meet up with Sammy and Henry, Sam and Henry.
Yeah, sad about
yeah.
That was, I think that was more sad in the show than it was.
Yeah.
Not only because they made Sam deaf
and younger,
and he had leukemia,
and he had leukemia, but also because they really went to town on the misfortune on him. But also because Henry, I think, the actor did a better job in the show.
They also just made him way more compelling.
Yes,
in the show than the game. Like in the game, like him and Sam were just like two random people you just come across in I think it's Pittsburgh in the game.
Yeah.
And like you don't have any of their backstory besides they're just like two brothers. Like in the show, it's like the whole thing with the Kathleen and like they overthrew the Fedra people. Like
that wasn't in the game.
Yeah, he's not a good, like, I mean, really, like he was not like a great, I mean, he did what he had to, which is kind of like a theme of The Last of Us is you do what you have to protect the people you care about.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, he sold out like, you know, like a good person to Fedra, which is implied that the Fedra in Kansas City are like basically just like horrible people. Like they were like terrible, like mostly mobsters and like corrupt people.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it like, and you can tell that like Henry feels bad about what he did, like selling that guy out. Like he doesn't feel good about it. And then to have his brother, like it's like he did it for nothing. Like because his brother dies, you know what I mean? He has to kill him. Like
and like we've all played the game, so we know pretty much what's going to happen, even if there's like slight little changes. I can't imagine like being able to watch it for the first time without knowing, like, because it does set up pretty well. Like, oh, I think like Sam and Henry, like they have this setup episode, and then they have this episode with Joel and Ellie. Like, oh wow, they're banding together and blah blah blah, and then it's the rug is just pulled right out from under you, like And they did that with another episode too, with the first episode. Like you would assume that Sarah is probably the main character because it follows her mostly throughout the day, and then again, rug pulled out. No, she's dead. Joel's the main character.
Yep.
It'd be cool to experience that for the first time again.
I want to maybe try to get my parents to watch the show because they haven't played the game. They don't know anything about it. I think they would like it.
It's a good show. It's really.
I mean, there's like zombies and stuff. I don't think my mom likes zombies, but like really, that's not too big.
They've definitely not been. And honestly, like in the game, that's not the main crux of the story. Yeah, it's just a backdrop of like what the characters are dealing with, which is an interesting. You know, it's an interesting take on the zombie apocalypse thing, which is cool.
Because I mean, they imply that most of them after they get infected die after just a few days, right? That's like said. I think that like a lot of them just die.
They said that in the show, and then some.
Which I don't know. So why are there so many of them still around?
Well,
like in the
I mean, Joel says some last days, some last weeks, some last years. Some I've seen ones that have lasted 5 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So
and that's out of 6 billion people.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a ton of them still around.
Yeah. And what caused them to turn to the clickers is that if they get like, is that when they've been alive for like forever?
I think the bloaters are when they've been alive for a really long time.
Like since the start?
I think clickers are still like, it's still longer than like the,
Yeah,
I have a mushroom growing out of my eye.
In the original game, it was the longer you're alive, the more infected you are.
Yep.
And the more you go from it's a runner to clicker to bloater to
Yeah.
Yeah.
From second. Yeah.
in the second game.
Skewy.
And then you also have those that are like one with a wall and they
Yeah.
just become a mushroom again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I just wonder if like their thought process, like we all know if we play the game like Ellie trying to get the cure and everything. Like I wonder if there's a point where like if they all die off, is it just gone? Like if all like the infected eventually die, like is it over? Like can you not get infected? Like is like the cordyceps gone? Like if you know what I mean, everybody that has been infected dies.
well, there's still the element of the actual like cordyceps because they live in the grass sometimes, right? Like there's the actual stuff on the ground.
Yep.
So I don't think it would. I think all of it would have to perish from the entire Earth.
And wasn't the thing though that they talk about in the first episode is that like the cordyceps couldn't live in a person because of the temperature of the Earth or something?
Yes.
So in theory, like I mean, it's kind of like a climate change thing. So if in theory, if enough people died off, like 5 billion or over, you know what I mean, go from 6 billion to 50 million,
The Earth would start getting colder.
right? So wouldn't there eventually come a point where like it swings back the other way and now it can't live in people anymore, and then like it's over? Or
Possibly, unless it's
Theoretically. Yeah.
that's just my
Yes.
thought. Like I'm like, if enough time goes on, like every single chemical, you know what I mean, like
all the chemical plants would
all the
cease
car,
to-
every
yeah.
you go from whatever we're doing to like back to like levels of pollution from like 1400 or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. So no, you're totally right, and that's kind of a. I don't think they thought through it that far.
yeah,
I think they just thought they could connect it with like a contemporary issue.
yeah. No, I think it's
Which
kind of it's interesting.
It makes sense.
Like,
It honestly it makes sense in the way of they needed a reason for this being able to be in humans, and I think they chose a good reason.
yeah,
Yeah, but the reason I'm just saying that I don't think they thought as far ahead as you have. So
I'm thinking
You're
about
smarter than the show.
I am smarter.
I'm not saying that.
Bring,
I'm just
bring,
saying.
Hey, bring me into the writers' room. Bring me into the writers' room for season 2. Yeah, you see Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann, Landon Browning. I could be on the podcast afterwards. The official HBO podcast with Troy Baker.
yeah. So, question: do you think that they're going to incorporate stuff in the show in part 3 if they ever make a part 3, or are they going to keep them
Say
separate?
that again?
So, if they make a part 3, do you think they're going to incorporate ideas from the show, like global warming started the infection and the cordyceps? Do you think they're going to have that in part 3, that idea in part 3, or do you think they're going to keep them kind of separate?
I would assume part 3 probably comes out before like game 2 has been completely covered.
I would
think
agree.
they've said they would like that, like, season 2 would just cover the second game, but like I think they're gonna. I would assume that the complete story of game 2 will be split up into 2 seasons. Would be my guess.
That's what I would think. Because there's, even in the game, the second game, there's a lot of flashback stuff, which you could tell in more of a chronological order.
Yep.
From like season 2 into season 3, and have season 3 be like mainly
I mean,
older Ellie, like all the.
I would assume season 2 you could end with that moment from the game. Like if you know what I mean?
Man, that would be a dour moment.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's like I feel like
Season
you
2 ends with
Spoiler alert.
some golfing.
yeah some golfing with your friends.
That's so early in the game, though. That's like
I know,
an
so
hour
I'm-
and a half in.
I know, but I'm saying you take all the flashbacks.
That's an hour and a half in, but again, like a lot of the game is gameplay. Like the actual story, like it's not that much.
It's like 50 minutes in if you're talking just cutscenes, probably. Maybe 30.
I'm saying you kind of remix the story a little bit, and you give some backstory, and you kind of like you stretch out all those flashbacks and you tell them in chronological order, and maybe add some plot threads. Like you add maybe some character building from like Ellie and Dina and maybe Jesse. You develop those characters a little bit more, and all the townspeople in Jackson,
Which I think they're already doing.
Yep. And then maybe you add some threat or something, some kind of like thing, and then maybe you end it with like I think you could end it with that scene, or you start season 3 with that. But I think you maybe like have a second season that's devoted to like developing people. Like,
yeah, I mean that could work. I just think the story structure in part 2, it's like the more I think about part 2, the more I think the story structure is really important for its general theme. Because the reason you start with, because you start the game with something very important that happens, and you end the game with something that changes it's the last scene of the game is a flashback pretty much.
yeah,
And so the game uses flashbacks to change what perspective you have on the beginning events of the game.
yeah.
And so to have that being taken out of context and put before, it's going to completely change, not ruin, because I don't know how it would look like. It's going to completely change the dynamic of that story.
Yeah, I just don't know how you do all that flashbacks. I mean, even the halfway point of part 2, like where it flip, like
Yes.
How do you translate that to television? Like you can't do like a 5 episode.
I have no idea.
Like so I think they have a lot more work they have to do.
I feel like they would have to more interweave that.
Yep.
And have it be playing out at the same time.
So I think it will change the general. Like it's going to feel a lot different. Like it's going to feel way more different than like season 1 of the show to like the first game. But I think they might have to do it just for like the medium they're telling the story.
Honestly, I can see them filming seasons 2 and 3 back to back.
Okay.
And then not have as much time between them, and that way you get the full picture, and they keep part 2 story intact as much as they can.
Yeah,
I honestly wouldn't be surprised either if in season 1 there's more set up to that type of stuff that happens in season 2, specifically with like Abby.
Oh, we're definitely seeing. I think we're seeing Jerry and Abby in the last episode for sure.
I think they'll bring that out more, and translate it more into television and have more of these people are actually kind of important. Which, I mean, it kind of takes away from like the thing that you get when just playing the games.
Yeah.
Because in the game, spoiler alert, at the last kind of mission in the first game, you kill a doctor, and that doctor
is really important.
In part 2.
Yep.
And you don't figure that out until like halfway through the second game.
Yep. But that's just because they didn't. I mean, I think if they would have known what part 2 was going to be when they were making part 1, they probably would have done it a little different, right? You know what I mean? It's like
maybe, but it works. That's my point. That works.
Yeah.
I think with the show that they will do it a little bit differently.
Yeah. And if you've played the remake, they've completely, like the Last of Us Part 1, they've completely changed the character model of the Doctor. It's just who it's the exact same character model from
part 2.
Wasn't the guy wearing a mask though? Anyway, like it was still hard to tell like what he looked like.
But like with the additional detail in part 1, you could. Sure. It's like literally this, like same voice, same person, same
blew
like
that guy's head off and
facial features. Like you can tell.
Pretty sure I shot one other of the like nurses too or whatever. I'm like, all right.
Well, what's interesting is that they So I think whatever they have this. So there's a cutscene to eliminate a discrepancy. There's a way of like no matter how you kill the Doctor, his body ends up in the same way.
Oh. Yeah.
So
whether you flamethrow him,
I didn't try flamethrowing him.
I've seen like a clip of someone walking with like a flamethrower, like torching all the doctors and nurses.
It's like dang.
I think too, like another thing that I've really latched on and appreciated about the show compared to the games is in the last few episodes they've really been hitting home that like Joel feels like a failure, and like he just always fails. He fails to protect Tess. He failed to protect Sarah. He thinks he's failing to protect Ellie now.
Yeah. And
they've really been like doing a good job at like bringing that up front in Joel's character, which you don't really get in the game. Like you said, like Joel in the game is like, unstoppable basically. And like, but the fact that they've been really implanting that in a lot of the dialogue with Joel and just his character itself, that just makes what happens at the end of the first game way more like emotional payoff.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see how they do it in the show.
Oh my gosh!
So it's gonna be interesting because I think they're setting it up to where
and it also just makes more sense for his character to do that. Like it made sense anyway, but like now it's gonna be like 10 times more like emotionally impactful.
What's weird is that I feel like part 2 framed that decision that Joel makes at the end of part 1 as overwhelmingly negative until the very end. Then there's a little bit of light on it.
I mean, it is. It is.
The show is painting it as a potential positive. Like Bill in his letter says, we're protectors. Like, do whatever you can to protect the ones you love. There's a theme of doing whatever you can to save the ones you love consistently throughout part 1, no matter the consequences.
Yeah.
And that is something that I don't know if the show is like, I don't know if it's shedding a positive light on it or not. It looks like it's more of a positive light than part 2. Part 1 is like up in the air on it. It's up to you to decide if you think it's a good decision or a bad decision.
I mean, I think morally, I mean, he did probably the wrong thing, right? But I mean, at the same time, like, I don't blame him. I think I would have done the same thing he did.
Well, here's the thing though. Morally, like, you don't, like, there's a common principle that you don't trade lives. Like that's like,
we don't trade lives.
that's not an I'll put it this way. That's not a invalid take.
Yeah. I guess it's just the point of like, this is something that like they've been fighting. I mean, like people have been, you know what I mean? Like when he's first like told that like she's like immune, they're like, well, we've heard all this before, you know what I mean? All these like, and then you actually see somebody. It's like, it's almost like hope of like, we could maybe stop, like we could maybe reclaim some kind of civilization if we were able to cure this. I don't know. I think he does like I always struck me as like Joel was a guy that like had just lost too much. Where he's like, I can't, like, I actually have some agency to save one person and I can't lose another person I care about, even though it's like the wrong thing. Cause like, I don't know. I mean, I think, am I the only one who thinks it's like the wrong thing to do to like save her? I mean, like, it's what I would have done. I would have saved Ellie, but like, I don't think it's the right decision. Like,
I don't.
There's so many sides to it.
I think this is what makes the game brilliant too. Is
Yeah.
that you can't. I don't think you could label it as a. I think Henry actually puts it perfectly in the show when he's talking to Joel.
yeah.
So am I the monster that I am?
Yeah.
Joel doesn't have an answer for Henry.
Yeah.
And that there's a good reason for that is because I don't think there's a good answer.
Yeah.
I think either way you slice it, it's like you're either a mass murderer who's killed who killed for your own selfish reasons to keep your brother alive, but you're protecting you're protecting a life that is like innocent, basically, especially at that age.
Yeah. And I think it'd be different too if it was like, this will 100% work. There's still like a little bit of doubt and like faith in the process, which I think it makes more sense for Joel then to make that decision.
I think Joel believed it would work though.
I don't know.
I think he believed it would work. I'm pretty sure. Like, why would he have taken her all that way? Like, if he didn't think it would work.
Joel's biggest objection, at least in the game, was I think his line is like, yeah, you keep telling yourself that this is like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like that this is worth it.
Yeah.
He just didn't think it was worth it at the cost of Ellie's life.
Yeah.
And understandably so, in my opinion, because I've already talked about it, but it's not easy.
Well, no, that's why it's compelling. It would
Yes,
be.
that's why it's compelling. But yeah, I'm looking forward to people experiencing that decision for the first time.
Yeah. I like what they did with Tommy also in this show. Like,
yeah, he's got a kid.
well, that and like in the game isn't like Joel knows where Tommy's at in the game, right?
No,
I thought
he's still searching for him. He kind of knows like the general area.
Yeah.
But he's still searching for him.
But it's like I feel like it's just more brutal in the show because like in the show it's like Tommy left to go somewhere he doesn't quite know where he's at, and then like he gets there and it was like it's kind of implied like the radio stuff. It's like that Tommy was like moved on, like he was totally like completely fine with never seeing or hearing from Joel ever again.
Yeah,
because he wasn't radioing back. Like, and there's this great, you know what I mean, community and everything, and he was not. You know what I mean? There's no like, oh, let me reach out to Joel and Tess to see if they want to.
He sacrificed his relationship with Joel to live and like. Yeah, Tommy's a jerk.
I mean, but at the same, I mean, like, you know, Tommy seems like somebody that was trying to atone for the sins of his past also.
And Joel's a part of his past.
It's extremely implied that, like, Joel and Tommy did horrible things to survive. Like, murdered innocent people. Like,
they were basically the type of people that would run out into the middle of the street acting like they're injured and need help.
Yep.
Like we saw in the previous episodes.
Yeah.
They were like that level of, like, con artists, like do whatever it takes to survive, murder people.
And I mean, anybody that's alive, I mean, we're 20 years in, so I mean, anybody that like was alive at the start of it and is still alive now, you probably have done horrible things.
Right. Like you couldn't make it that far if you're a good person.
Yeah. Yeah. So, which would just be crazy because you're looking at most of the people. I mean, there's not a lot of people in the show that seem like they are. I mean, I would assume the amount of people being born after this happened was very low. especially after 9 months after. You know what I mean? After the 9 months, people, anybody that was still pregnant or something, which I would assume most of those kids probably died. You know what I mean? That were born from.
Probably.
So yeah, there's got to be a massive age disparity between.
Yeah,
it's a brutal world.
it is a brutal world.
But the amount of resources too, that's another thing too, like the amount of resources left over from, I mean, like the food and stuff, all the canned food that was like non-perishables. I mean, it's got to be like enough to feed tons of people. You know what I mean? With like, you go from a food source for 6 billion down to a food source for
50 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that, and I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't have it in the game, in the show, is that scene. I'm pointing at a poster of the giraffe scene.
Yeah. When does that happen again?
That happens
Right before St. Mary's.
right before. Yeah.
That's right before they get like washed in the,
Yeah.
before they get to the, yeah.
Yeah, it's right before. So it happens between.
It's after probably what the next episode's going to be.
So we
After the
should
winter.
probably see it in episode
8?
9.
8 or like early 9.
I think episode, like, what's interesting is they're doing it for 7. They're doing Left Behind.
Left Behind. They'll probably mix
Wait,
it
really?
too,
7 is left behind?
7's
Yeah.
Left Behind.
and they'll probably mix it with
Some
of the current stuff.
current winter that's happening.
Because it's a very like Ellie heavy episode.
I wouldn't
so.
be surprised if 8 splits between the end of winter, early spring, and then 9 is.
I mean, we're
ending
going
of the
to,
game.
so is 8 going to be David then?
7 and 8, I think. David's probably going to be in 7 and 8. If I had to
Okay.
guess.
Yeah,
9's got to be like an hour and a half episode then, right?
I think
Like,
it is.
it probably is.
'cause that's got to be them getting to the place probably pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then like everything happening there.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Left Behind and the David stuff.
Yeah.
Also, wasn't Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson were supposed to be in the show, right? Have they been in it yet?
Ashley Johnson's probably going to be in the next episode.
Probably.
If I had to guess.
I still think
Troy Baker is going to be James,
Who's James?
David's person who he sends to get supplies.
Oh,
And
okay.
When David and
I was thought it'd be cool if he played David.
I kinda
because he
thought-
kind of looks like David anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, that might have been too distracting though.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he did
I
a
don't
good
know.
job in Death Stranding. He plays like a psychopath.
Yeah.
So, and it's his face, his voice, his everything.
Yeah.
So I think he'd do a good job. But
I mean, he
think
plays the freaking Joker. Like,
yeah. I'm just saying, as like someone that played the game, like it might be just like
I
I don't want to see Troy Baker like doing the stuff to you know, like
yeah.
I'm like that just doesn't
I
feel
don't know.
like
That's your bias coming in.
No. I agree with Landon. I think David's going to be somebody else, but he's going to be because in the game I've played the game I think twice in the past year.
it's Nolan North in the
It's
Yeah.
Nolan North in the
You
game.
want to see him?
his cameo in Uncharted was pretty great.
Gosh. Hey, that something like that happened to me once. So dumb.
That's pretty.
It's
great.
dumb, Will.
No, I thought it was good.
It's stupid.
Great movie.
I'm like, how do
It's
you
a
like
good. It's
it?
a good movie. It's an okay movie.
It sucks.
It's not bad.
It's terrible.
It's fun to watch.
I don't know what to think. People tell me what to think, and I don't know what to think.
Yeah. And so you think Ashley Johnson's going to be in the Flash? The
Wasn't
She's
she her
supposed to
mom?
be Ellie's mom.
oh
Spoilers.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry to spoil that for you, but yeah, in the trailer, she's. We're
Oh, I didn't watch
we're
the
pretty
trailer.
sure.
I didn't watch the trailer for that.
We're pretty sure she's Ellie's mom, and then Troy Baker is going to be the guy who one of David's friends who gets supplies for Joel when.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers for episode 7, but
Oh, okay.
Joel's still alive. Anyway,
Have you guys been watching then the previews for the next episode?
no.
Yeah.
Okay, because I haven't. I haven't been watching. I just turn it off as soon as like the credits.
The preview
Well,
for the next
'cause I
episode is
also-
all left behind, I think.
Because I also watched the like behind the scenes
Oh, I
stuff
don't watch
that they
that.
do. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I'll watch that after I'm done with the whole show.
Well, because they just do it for the behind the scenes stuff for the episode that you just watched.
I'll have to go back and watch
You're
those.
missing out.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're almost done. Literally
3
2
episodes.
more weeks after tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep, 3 episodes.
So
Flew by pretty quick.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
And then what's crazy is
Chernobyl season 2.
Mandalorian comes out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
The year of Pedro.
It's the month, more like the 2 months of Pedro, or
I'm
3
excited for
months.
Mando.
actually,
Mando's
probably
that's
going
gonna be good. It's good. Some good escapism.
I
show.
think-
Last of Us is not escapism. No, it's entertainment.
I want to
Brutal
escape
reality.
into The Last of Us.
I would die so fast. I would have gotten
Yeah.
into my Eggo waffles and like just gotten infected.
Probably, yeah. I think we all would have been infected.
Yeah, because we went to Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, with the rolls.
Imagine like the
rolls.
cinnamon butter and rolls are what get us.
That's probably worth it. That's like
That's a way to go, right?
I guess so. I don't know. I feel like a chump though. Like, oh yeah, how'd you get infected at Texas Roadhouse rolls with cinnamon butter?
I would just love to see the chart of like how many people died on each day, like in like the Last of Us like chart, like day 1, 1 billion or something, or 2 billion, like, and then like see the drop off, like I mean, then Fedra was like, or like the government, because it was first just the U.S. government probably, and then like it became Fedra at some point. And then Fedra is kind of like it seems like they're not connected. Like Fedra Boston is different than like they're not like in touch with each other. I don't think, are they?
Well, not anymore.
No.
Well, the Kansas City one's gone. That was brutal. Like that whole like thing, like they were like executing all those people,
Like dragging people in the street.
yeah, with like knives in them and like just executing everybody. Like yeah, the bloater was cool. That whole scene when the infected come out of the ground was awesome.
Yeah.
Like the truck sinks in. I'm like, oh, I said, oh no.
I thought
That bloater like tears the guy's head off. What's his name?
Perry.
the original voice actor for Tommy.
Yeah, tears his head off. Like I'm like, oh my god. Like,
Which that's straight out of the game. That's what happens if you get caught by a bloater.
oh, that's fun. I
They
forgot
can
about
rip
that.
your head.
That reminds me of part 2, one of the coolest scenes.
There's some great stuff in part 2. I can't wait to see what they do, like visually. Like,
yeah.
the skyscraper stuff. I don't know if they'll keep that in. Like when you're like up like so high and it's like foggy.
Oh, with yeah.
Yeah.
When
That's
you're
when you're
trying
playing
to
Abby,
yeah,
right?
you're playing as Abby. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you haven't played the game. Suck it. So
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah. No one knows that.
Yeah. That like all like the what's the cult in the second game? What are they called again?
The Sephirotes.
Yeah, I can't wait to like see their camps.
What was that?
That's probably this like one of the scariest I've ever been playing a game. Like when that first happened, like you see them like killing that guy in the woods, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my god. And then you get like hit with the arrow. I'm like, oh my god.
You get hit with the arrow before I think you see the guy getting killed in the woods.
Do you?
Yeah, because there's a whistle. I was like, because I had subtitles on, whistle, and I'm like, what the heck, a whistle? And then, and I was like,
It's scary. It's scary. Like they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you before, like you that happens, like you're finding like the wreckage of them, like you like finding people like skinned alive and stuff and
Yeah.
building. And you're like, what in the hell is going on?
yeah,
Like,
the TV station.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, you're looking around and there's like a bunch of weird symbols everywhere.
Yeah, like
One thing I hope we get in part 2 is like some expanded stuff on the Prophet.
well, that's I mean, there's room for that. Like, 'cause in the first season, they've set a precedent for like
Who would you want to play
The Prophet?
the leader of the
Stop.
Who would you choose, Will?
Oh, that's a great job.
I'm thinking of 2 actors.
Who would you prefer, Forrest Whitaker or Jeffrey Wright?
Jeffrey Wright. Gosh dang it.
They could probably get Jeffrey Wright to do it. I bet he will just take that role. I mean, he's done stuff with HBO before.
They should go for Forrest Whitaker though.
Justice for Will.
I'm gonna shoot myself. But yeah, Jeffrey Wright will do a good job.
Who do you guys
if
want?
For those that don't know, Will made a mistake.
Yes, in my video, but that's okay.
We all make mistakes.
Actually do hope Jeffrey Wright reprises his role as Isaac.
I could definitely see him coming back for it.
Yes.
That's a lot more so they can flesh out too, like to make it like that game 2 seasons. They can flesh out a lot of stuff with the wolves.
Well, I think Isaac was the most disappointing character in the game, honestly, because you like throughout this
hyped up.
entire throughout this entire game, you're getting letters of how brutally Isaac overtook everything.
Yeah.
And then like we see him torturing a person in a scene. We see him on the island where he runs into Abby, and that's it.
Yeah.
He's in 2 scenes in the entire game, I think.
He was like very underwhelming.
Yep.
So
There's gonna be a lot more backstory for him. All the wolves. There's gonna be way more backstory for the Sephirotes or whatever they're called. Mm-hmm. Like that would be cool. I think they could totally do like 20 episodes for that like game broken up into 2 seasons, probably,
I think so.
without feeling like it's like milking it out or anything. Like because the second game is longer than the first one by like 10 hours anyway. So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. Who do you guys want them to cast for Abby?
I have no preference. Whoever they cast will be good.
Scarlett Johansson, 40-year-old like woman. Like,
Oh my gosh, no.
who could they cast? I'm trying to think who would they. It'll be interesting.
Man, it's such a specific role.
Florence Pugh.
They gotta be like
Honestly, that's not bad.
I think she could do it.
That's not that's not a bad choice.
So
She's got the
it
range
is
for that
not
role.
a
Yeah.
it is not a bad choice, but she has previously gone on record saying she does not like change her body for any role.
you know, I mean,
skinnier
that's
or
something you
stronger.
don't have to do.
With Abby, I think she needs to be just absolutely ripped.
I don't think.
Yeah,
so.
I think so.
It's not an important detail to the story.
I think I don't know. Okay, so I would just like to have that similarity. I think that's an
And you
important
know
part
what?
to keep, actually.
Actors say stuff like that all the time, and then they'll
paycheck.
turn around and do something completely different based on a paycheck.
They'll Christian Bale machinist
like,
it.
Yeah,
like because part of Abby's character in part 2 is like she like filled the void of what happened to her with like turning her body into like a killing machine, basically.
I also
you
just
can
took
still
that-
do that though without having like a roided up.
Yeah, I also took that as like
like monstrous
Older.
woman.
She's also just older too, and like went from like
Yeah.
super like secure Firefly, like just and it's like 4 years later, and she's essentially like a soldier, like in like for the wolves, like she's like a soldier basically. So
Yeah, I think I don't know. There's like a certain part of like an intimidation factor to her character that I think is important.
I could
could be
definitely see
intimidating.
Florence Pugh be intimidating without being jacked.
Yeah, I just my opinion. I think
hey, if you don't want her to have the
Abby
last
still
time,
needs to be jacked at least some,
yeah.
in some way. That's just my
I
opinion.
mean, Florence Pugh is not out of shape in any.
No, that's not what I'm
manner
saying.
at all.
I'm just saying that
I just think the detail of her just being ripped is something that is not crucial to her character.
I don't think it's crucial. It's
her
like,
her intimidation can come through in like many different ways.
I don't know.
Other than like, yeah, she could destroy me in an arm wrestle.
it's just a detail I'd prefer to have. That's all.
Well, you're not getting it, so
All right. So who do you guys want? I want. This would also be interesting if Florence Pugh was Abby. I want the guy that plays opposite of her. I can't remember his name.
Owen?
from Midsummer. I want Owen to be the guy from Midsummer.
Christian from Midsummer.
Christian from Midsummer. Because he just like would fit that like role so great. Like,
Like Owen's a two-timing chump. Sorry, spoilers for part 2. Owen's a two-timing chump,
Best
but
scene
he
in the
like
game.
deserves better. Like, because he has some really good scenes in part 2. He has 2 really good scenes in part 2. The one where he's sitting in the boat, and the one where he's telling Abby that we deserve to be happy. Like that's like a pretty good scene.
Not as good.
Even though the implications are like, wow, Owen, you're kind of a terrible person. Like, but
dude.
oh, again, a lot of terrible people in this universe.
yeah.
I mean, was he alive to start? He would have been like a small child, probably, right?
He's same age as Abby.
Same age as Abby, who's the same age as Ellie.
Okay. For some reason, I thought Abby was older than Ellie.
I mean, if they are, it's close.
It's a couple years.
It's very close, yeah.
So born after the.
I mean, they were probably both 16, 17, I'm guessing, at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait. Can't wait.
It'll be interesting. See if I like because I'm not like, I don't hate part 2, but I'm not the biggest fan of part 2.
If you didn't get it, it's not a big. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I've only played it once still, but the more it lingers and the more I think about it, the more appreciation I have for it.
I'm gonna play it again.
At the time, I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
There's still some choices in there where I'm like, it still does not work for me. Well, the angle they were going for, it still just didn't win me over. But I do have more appreciation for the game.
I think it's important to recognize that you can still appreciate it and recognize its flaws for sure. Yeah. That's something that I've come to terms with of like, especially I think a lot of us fell victim to the Discord of it was either really good or really bad.
Yeah.
It was a 10 out of 10.
Was it better than the Uncharted movie?
It was, yes. I would say it was better than the Uncharted movie. There was no Papa John's. There's no Papa John's.
You got a doctor.
If there's no Papa John's, there's no Will.
What's the point?
Yeah. I can't wait for the next episode tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Coming tomorrow.
I'm caught up.
Nice job. What was it? Was it hard?
Yeah, it was really hard actually.
Are you going to wait like 3 weeks to watch the episode tomorrow?
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
And I'm going to go 7, 8, 9.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Thank you. It's good stuff.
Great stuff. Anything else you guys want to talk about, or should we wrap up?
Honestly, I think I'm good with the Last of Us.
Yeah, let's just have a Last of Us focused conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
So
Last of Us and Texas Roadhouse.
God,
we go hand in hand.
I'm gonna throw up. I can't think about Roadhouse right now. I would.
What about Texas?
I could think about Texas.
Where would you guys go? Like, what part of the U.S. would you try to get to if you'd survived?
West Virginia.
Take me home.
Yeah, take me home, country roads.
Specifically, like with the cordyceps stuff. Like,
Yeah, like where would you think would be your best chances?
I mean,
Middle of but nowhere.
best
Like
chances to go probably north in the colder regions, but then you'd have to like be able to survive the cold.
Yep.
But in
You need a
terms
nice
of like
cabin. You need a nice log cabin with like a fire, like a stove or something.
like that too. The
like the couple that we
in
found.
episode 6.
Yeah,
that was a funny scene too.
that was good. Some good levity.
Yeah.
Like
Did you tell him the truth? Yeah. You telling me the truth?
yeah. That's what I always kind of like. Joel and Tess, like, why didn't they just like? I was always kind of confused why they didn't just like try to make a deal with Bill And the other guy, what was his name?
Frank.
Bill and Frank be like, hey, why can't we just like live here with you, like you guys in this town? Like,
I don't think that
Joel wanted that.
I don't
Or that
think
they-
Joel wanted that, and I don't think Bill would have
Let him.
allowed it. Even if Frank was like, "No, come on."
Frank would have been down. Like,
Frank was down.
Frank wanted friends, dude. Frank wanted some friends. Like,
Yeah, I don't think that Joel and Tess would even wanted to.
yeah.
But yeah, I would say probably somewhere up north where I would go.
I would probably also try to go.
I'm going
Canada.
to Tahiti.
Tahiti.
Going to Tahiti.
Tahiti.
I have a plan. Yeah. I would die though in like the first like.
Oh yeah.
Imagine you like survive like the first like 2 weeks and like you still have no idea what's going on. You like find like a box of Pop-Tarts. You're like, oh my god.
Wait,
you just die.
So, question: if global warming has made the cordyceps live longer, doesn't that mean the internal body temperature of humans would also have to raise? Because if they can survive in humans, they'd have to like. Is their survivability dependent on not the Earth's temperature, but like what their host is?
I think that's what it was. They couldn't survive in humans because humans weren't warm enough. Was that what it was? The body temperature of a human was not high enough.
It was something like that.
But then if the planet got warmer, you get a little bit warmer, something like that. And then I can't remember exactly this. Like, I don't even know if it's like accurate science.
Yeah,
But like,
Oh, okay.
I did like that clip in the talk show thing or whatever.
Because I'm just thinking, like, what if everybody just went to Canada? Your internal body temperature would probably be lower just because, like, I don't know.
No, I
Does
think,
that
I don't think that's how it works.
No, it's pretty. I mean, you should be 98.6 around there, like pretty consistently, no matter.
I
where
think
you're at.
once your body starts doing that type of stuff, you're gonna die.
Yeah, you don't.
Like
your
you're
body
not
like
that's not a survivable.
like when you have a high fever, like you're like 101, 102, that's 4 degrees higher, and like you feel like you're gonna die. Like,
And you can die from that.
yep, yeah,
Yeah.
so it looks like
98.6.
well, because like your body temperature shouldn't rise either.
Yeah.
That's when you get sick.
It should always be 98.6 pretty much. So if the world's getting warmer and you're like everybody's just sick,
I don't know.
I don't know.
right?
All I know
I'm
is
just saying it
the
doesn't
talk
make sense
show-
either
the
way.
talk show
All I'm
host-
saying.
The talk show host was Big Head from Silicon Valley, which was really funny. Hard to take it a little bit seriously.
Big head? Modoc?
Darren,
I'm not a
I'm
dick.
not a dick.
I died an Avenger.
Joel running out of the hospital. I'm not a dick.
Classic.
No spoilers for Ant-Man though, because Dave still has to see it.
We had the.
We told him to watch it.
like,
He
we
needs to
took-
drive an hour out of town and watch the
Yeah.
movie.
He has to watch it. All right, so let's wrap up.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Bye.
Yeah,
Farewell, friends.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. I think Dave will be on next week.
Maybe.
Who knows?
There might be some changes behind the scenes here.
Yeah,
I don't
well-
think it'll affect the release of the episodes at all. And anyway,
There's a power struggle going on right now.
but yeah, there will probably be some changes that will be minor. Won't affect
A coup is
anything.
coming. A coup is coming.
A coup.
An over-
Hakuna Matata.
Bless you. So yeah,
All right. Yeah. Well.
on that note,
Goodbye. Say goodbye, Will.
Bye.
All right.
But
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Hotkeys podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Castbox, YouTube, and other podcasting platforms. Visit our website, www.hotkeyspodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Hotkeys Podcast and join our Facebook group at facebook.com/HKHotkeys. Please like and review us and subscribe to the show on whichever platforms you use. Finally, you can contact us via email at hosts@hotkeyspodcast.com.